Hey guys! So today I'm going to be ranking all the Clash of Clans troops into a tier list. We're starting from all the way up at S tier, which are troops that are really good, all the way down to F tier, which are troops that are obviously just very bad, just don't use them. I'm going to be ranking the troops based off of how good they are both offensively and defensively. So I'm only doing the troops. I'll do spells, super troops, siege machines, whatnot another day because the video will be just way too long. So first things first, barbarians. I'm going to put barbarians into C tier. So obviously it's good that's one housing space. The only use for barbarians really is obviously in the Barbarian King's ability when he uses it. Other than that, the barbarians are obviously not that great. Like they're decent for one housing space, obviously, for triggering traps and whatnot, but yeah, it's only good in the Barbarian King ability. Archers are definitely better. I'll put them up in the B tier. Obviously, they're good in the Queen's ability when she activates it. And for one housing space, they can be good for just filling up the rest of your army if you have like a few more housing spaces left. And archers can be pretty good in defense as well. If you carry quite a couple of them, it can take a while to get through them unless the attacker has a poison spell. And yeah, they're not too bad. They're a good defense as well, sure. The giant, I'm going to say, is definitely better than the barbarian. I'll put him into B tier. He does tanking somewhat decently for 5 housing space. There's just better tanks out there, I feel, and he's not that great in defense either. He does like nothing. So you'd only really use giants in the lower town halls, but once you're like past town hall 9 or 10, I feel you just don't use giants anymore, really. Not that much. You rarely see them. Goblins, I'm going to... Yeah, goblins themselves, yeah, I'm going to put them in the C tier as well. They're definitely better than barbarians. They're better than for cleaning up bases, I feel. Obviously, they do a little bit more damage and whatnot, and they're faster, so it's good for cleanup. In clan castles, I guess they can be okay, but they're definitely not as good as archers. Obviously, they can't target air. But yeah, the only reason why you'd really be upgrading goblins is purely for the sneaky goblin super troop, which is obviously really good at rank at the end of the day. But goblins are, yeah, the C tier. Wall breakers. Where do I put you? Yeah, I'd say you're A tier, honestly. It's probably not S, because obviously you know what troop is going to be S tier. They're not on the same tier as super wall breakers. They obviously do their job well, busting walls open. It's just they die fairly quick, so you need to tank in order for them to actually open up the walls. It is nice now though that there's death damage where when they die they do a bit of damage to walls. Before they used to be like that, but now at least they actually do a bit of damage. At least if all the wall breakers die right before the wall, it takes like 4 or 5 wall breakers to break it open. But yeah, they do that one job very well. They're good. Now the first S tier troop is definitely going to be Balloon, 100%. Balloon have always been S tier. Right, so they're obviously very good in air attacks, dragons, lava loon, any sort of electro dragons. They can be used in all those armies. They're also very good in ground armies as well, like in queen charges, where they can use them to trigger seeking air mines. So for being only 5 housing space, you would much rather have a balloon be taken out by seeking air mine than a 14 housing space healer or something like that. So you're always bringing like 4 or 5 balloons and queen charges for just trigger all those seeking air mines. Balloons are fairly decent on defense as well, you know, behind like lava hounds or electro dragons or dragons and whatnot. They can be good. It's like no air targeting, attacking troops nearby. They can do some work. They're definitely S tier. There's no question about that. Wizard is definitely gonna be A tier as well. They're definitely better than archers for sure. They're a glass cannon. They just die fairly easily and they do a lot of damage. They've been decent on defense as well, you know. But they're obviously good for cleanup. That's like their main, you know, use. You're not going to be sending a bunch of wizards into the base. They're just going to die instantly to like anything, giant bombs, you know, scatter shots or anything. You're not sending them into the base. You're going to send them out on the outside the base, clean up all the trash buildings, and not time fail. But they do that job very well. If I was to rank the party wizard, it would be top of A tier because obviously there's a bit more damage and obviously less hit points doesn't matter because he'll just die quickly anyway. The healer is definitely going to be S tier as well. There is like the S tier troops are just troops that you are irreplaceable in an army. Like no other troop in the game can do what the healer does. Just healers just make queen charges possible. Like bring 4 or 5 healers ever since Town Hall 9 when Queen's added. You know, it's obviously an S tier troop. It's never going to like get a nerf or anything really like that. It's always going to be viable queen charges. Obviously they're not very good in defense, but they are extremely useful on offense. Put them into queen charges, put them into smash attacks like bowlers or Electro Titans or pekkas or yeshis, just to heal them up, track the base, rage them, they're so good. Definitely S tier. Dragons, I'm going to put into A tier as well. Obviously they're S tier. A tier, there you go. Yeah, they're definitely A tier for sure. Obviously dragon attacks are pretty damn good. They're good in defense as well. There's a few dragon armies I could think of, which is that super archer blimp with the dragons, or dragon riders can be a very good army. Obviously armies like drag bash can be very good, so dragons and bat spells can be very good army. There's a lot of armies that dragons can be fit into, and they're all very, very good. But it's not as versatile as healers or balloons. That's why I wouldn't put them in the S tier. Definitely a solid troop. Pekka. It's not A tier. It's better than archers though. Yeah, I'll put them into B tier. Pekkas were very good like back in Town Hall 12 when Pekka Smash was first a thing. But ever since Town Hall 13, they were also decent well. But ever since then, I feel like the Yetis and Super Bowlers or Electro Titans have just outclassed them in terms of just those smash attacks. You don't really find Pekkas in any other armies other than that Pekka Smash army. But like, it's just a lot of housing space. It doesn't do as much as you would hope. Obviously, attack's very slow. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'd say Pekka is B tier. If it was a couple of years back, it would be an A tier. But for now, it's B tier. Baby Dragon, is it better than Dragon? No, it's not better. Yeah, it's going to be an A tier as well. The main uses for the baby dragons are literally just funneling. They're probably the best troop in the game for funneling, which is basically taking out trash buildings on the outside of the base to where your troops will not go in that direction and they will go in. You're making them go where you want to, like into the base or somewhere. They're very good in queen charges, obviously, like funneling for the queen. They're good in air armies for funneling, ground armies for funneling. They're good in defense as well. But like they're not as like I don't know. They're definitely not. They'd be fairly close to S tier, but I feel like dragons are just better in nearly every single way compared to baby dragon, really. Miner. Where do I put the miner? I think honestly, I think he's D tier. I think he's D tier, even though I do like Queen Charge Hybrid. I feel like you don't necessarily need to have the miner in those armies, though. Like, what other armies do you use miners in, other than Queen Charge Hybrid, which is Hog Riders and miners? Because I don't think of any. There was obviously, like, armies like mass miners you could do with heal spells. That's obviously not that great. But honestly, there's some better Queen Charge Hog attacks out there. Like, there's literally just straight up Queen Charge Hogs could be sometimes better than Queen Charge Hybrid. There's obviously the new Super Hog Rider, and then there's the Super Miner, which are also really, really good. That can definitely replace the Miner in those attacks. They're not great in defense, but just the fact they're in Queen Charge Hybrid just makes it not F tier. So it's not very versatile. They can just put it in D tier. Electro Dragon. Is it better than Dragon? I think so. It's definitely a solid army. It's definitely the easiest army in the game to use. It's not as good as Dragon. Obviously, Electro Dragon spam is like one of the most consistent 2-star attacks in the game. It's always been viable. The Electro Dragon can be very good for funneling and all as well with the chaining ability, and it can be fairly good on defense as well for like lower town halls where it's like a lot of hit points. I feel in higher clan castles I honestly put in something else, but yeah, they're definitely A tier for sure. Definitely better than everything else below it. Yeshis are definitely better than pekkas, I feel, but they're not quite A tier. Obviously, they're good in Yeshi smashes, which is a very viable army to be using. Other than that, you wouldn't see Yeshis in any other army, just Yeti smash. So for that reason alone, they're just definitely better than pekkas. You can carry a little bit more of them as well, and those Yeti mites can do some work on defenses that the Yetis can't target. Dragon Rider is probably below Baby Dragon. He'd probably be A tier as well, I feel. They're obviously good in the Hydra, is that what it's called? So it's like dragons and Dragon Riders. They're good in that army. You can replace them into other armies with into Sui heroes, into like dragons and dragon riders for the rest of the base, or honestly that super archer blimp into dragons and dragon riders can be good. Like any air army where dragons are usually involved, or like air with like lava hounds, dragon riders can be fit into and do very well. They'd be A tier for sure. Is a Baron Wizard though? No, it's not as good as Wizard. It's probably very low A tier for sure. Or is it B tier? Nah, B tier. Okay. It's B tier. What was I thinking? Yeah, it's B tier for sure. Electro Titan is definitely A tier. It's probably one of the better Smash armies in the game. What's it better than? Is it better than Dragon? Yeah, I'd say it's not as good as Dragon. And there's a lot of uses for the Electro Titan actually, even for 32 housing space. So it's actually very good on defense. First of all, the aura that it has, where it does damage constantly around it, is actually a very good counter to the Super Archer blimp strategy. So if you've Super Archers and there's a Electro Titan on defense, Electro Titan could actually walk over to the Super Archers, and since all the Titan has to do is just be near to Super Archers, and they'll kill the archers in no time at all. So they're very good for that in defense, and they're very good in offense as well in this in the Electro Titan smashes, which is probably one of the best Earth Smash armies in the game. Contesting Super Bowlers, they're definitely better than the SEs, definitely better than pekkas, and more versatile. You can use them to tank in some armies as well. That's why they're ART for sure. Minion is, I think Minion is probably, yeah, it's better than the pekka. It's good for cleanup. It's good in Lava Loon for cleanup. It could be good in defense as well, just fill up housing space. Not much more to be said, really. It's a very solid group. It's not crazy good. For 2 housing space, does its job well. Hog Rider is definitely top of A. There's no contest about that. It's not as versatile to put in the S. Obviously, Queen Charge Hogs has been a very good army for the longest time. Hybrids, just Queen Charge Hogs with Super Hogs can be good. Queen Charge Hogs with Super Miners can be good. Not the greatest on defense though, but on offense they're very, very good. Valkyrie is, it's the first F tier troop, not the F. What can I say? Like, it's all, I don't know why they've never been that good. Like, they can be sometimes good on defense, where you've like 5 of them in like a 40 housing space CC. They can be sometimes good in a blimp, but really not that, like, you don't need to. But they just don't do enough damage, I feel. And sometimes with that splash attack they do, where they sometimes go between buildings and splash them both at the same time, sometimes I feel they don't do that enough, which doesn't give them enough value. Once they get stuck on a wall, they're going to be stuck there for a long time. They're not going to do enough damage to get through it for 8 housing space. They don't do enough, honestly. They've always been like one of the worst troops in the game it's the worst troop in the game, what am I saying? Golem is D tier as well. Alongside Miner. It's good for tanking in some niche cases where you might not need a nice Golem or an Electro Titan, but it's not as bad as the Valkyrie. It has, the Golem at least gets somewhat used somewhere. I don't know. It's okay. It's just okay. The Witch is an interesting case, because sometimes it was overpowered like S tier, and so in some cases ever since scar shots were introduced and whatnot, more splash, it has been like C tier. So for that I might put it around B tier alongside maybe the SE or Dragon Rider. Before, when in Channel 13, where like spam attacks were like overpowered with bats, obviously witches were like S tier. And there was at one point in Channel 11 where they were like really, really broken. But now with all the splash damage going around, with all the poison towers and whatnot, they're fine. They're fine. Not the greatest, but they're a good middle ground troop. I feel I'd put them in B tier. Lava Hound, yeah, I think it's probably very close to top of A tier. Lava Hound obviously makes Lava Loon what it is, tanking. It's Lava Loon has been it's probably the best army ever in the game, and it has been good for like 8 or 9 years now, ever since Lava Hound was introduced. It's always been good. Lava Hound, very good in defense. Obviously, a lot of hit points, a lot of lava pups, good for stalling. Good in offense, for tanking for like super archer blimps, where you're getting an archer, the blimp deep into the base and whatnot. Yeah, it's a very good troop for what it does, just attacking air troops and whatnot. It's very, very good. Bowler has definitely taken a hit over the years. It just doesn't have a whole lot of hit points. It dies fairly quick, I feel. With all the splash damage and high damaging buildings nowadays, I feel like the bowler is just taking a big hit. Years back at Town Hall 10, 11, it was probably top of A tier, but nowadays, I think it's worse than a witch. It's better than a minion, but it's B tier. It's not that bad, but in the top town halls, there's better troops to be using. The lower town hall is obviously good, but in the top town hall, it's 14, 15. It's not as good as it used to be. Ice Golem, definitely better than the Golem, for sure, for half the housing space. Good hit points. The freeze effect for like 8 seconds or something, it's like really, really good. On defense, it is also really, really good with the Lava Hound. So for all those reasons alone, Ice Golem is not as good as Wall Breakers, not as good as Dragons. I would say it's about here. It's a very versatile troop. Good offense, good defense. When at one point when the freeze effect was the same as on offense and defense, it was just so disgustingly annoying on defense, where it would freeze for like 6 or 7 seconds each, along with all the hit points it has. You compare like 3 of them. Yeah, it was so busted. Headhunter is S tier, 100%. There is no other troop in the game that does what Headhunter does. More extra damage to heroes. You could slot Headhunters into any army in the game and it will do work for you. All you need is like 1 or 2 or even 3 Headhunters and it'll take out heroes in a blink of an eye on defense. On defense or on offense. On defense as well, obviously, it's very, very good at taking out attacking heroes. If it takes out an attacking queen or champion or something, or the warden, the attack's just over. It's probably just over. Unless it's a miracle where they actually get to 3-star after their heroes die early. They're very, very good. And finally, the Apprentice Warden. Where do I put the Apprentice Warden? It's okay, I guess. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be. Like, it sometimes gets ahead of the queen and gets splashed and dies early enough into attack and for 20 housing space. It just doesn't have enough hit points, or I don't know, maybe it doesn't give enough hit points to troops nearby to it. I'm not too sure. It doesn't give enough value as I thought. So it's not C tier, isn't it? Yeah, it's C tier, I think. It's not B tier. Yeah, it's around C tier for sure. It's okay. It's just okay. I don't know, it might need a buff, we'll see, but it might be fine just where it is. It can be used in some armies where, like, if you put it behind a king to give it like 4,000 more hit points, but sometimes it doesn't even feel like it doesn't make much of a difference with 20 housing space. And you can put it behind a queen, the queen charges, but sometimes it dies early, I don't know. So, yeah, that's my ranking, I think, for the Clash of Clans troops. That's S tier, A, B, C, D, and F. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. If you agree with me, that's cool. If you disagree, I don't care. This is my opinion. If you think, oh, the Lava Hound shouldn't be A tier, it should be D tier because I never use it, I just don't care. If you think, yes, and witches should be S tier because that's like the only troop you use, sure, why not? Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Goodbye.